Welcome back to the Tailosive Space Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick. This evening I am joined by the illustrious DJ. How are you doing, my friend?
And the crowd goes wild.
Did you? I hear the thunderous applause in one of my AirPods, that's for sure. The three people out there.
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Nick?
You know, I'm doing really well. It's been an exciting week in space news. Woke up to an announcement that I had no idea was even on the horizon, and it's not very often that some kind of news can catch me by surprise like that. So that was always an exciting time. We'll get to that, and why don't we just get into that? What do you think? It is first on our list.
I'm hungry. Let's talk about a meal.
You know, actually, I like to eat crow. It's one of my favorite kinds of meat. Peter Beck, though, doesn't really like to eat crow. He prefers hats for some reason. Oh my gosh.
Hold on. I'm still caught up on the crow.
You ever heard that expression?
Please tell me you don't actually eat crow. No, I've never heard that expression in my life.
Oh, that's an expression you use when you have to eat your words, basically. When you tell someone that something's not going to happen or that you're never going to do something, and then you end up doing it later. And the expression is you have to eat crow, which is unpleasant because crow is not a very delicious meat. I would rather be vegetarian before I'd eat crow in reality. So Peter Beck, instead of eating crow, ate a hat. And
why is that?
Because Rocket Lab's awesome and they have a bunch of parachutes. That's what I heard. No, it was the most random thing, but I got up this morning, rolled out of bed as one does, starting my day on Twitter as one does, and I was just scrolling through the news, and I saw this video by Peter Beck. It was actually just Rocket Lab, and because I saw it and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I clicked it and went to YouTube, and I was just sitting there, in the morning, just easing into my morning, and it was just kind of a history of Rocket Lab. And it was like, Rocket Lab said that they do this, and here's when they delivered. The Rocket Lab said they do this, and then here's when they delivered. And I was like, oh, this is cool, just kind of like a little marketing hoorah thing from Rocket Lab. That's nice. Okay, wonderful. And then Peter Beck got on screen and was like, so our Rutherford engines are amazing, and we'd like to have some other news to share with you. And then he's sitting at a dinner plate. He has a plate with food, and it's I don't know, beautiful cinematography. My mind was blown.
It was everything up until that point was already amazing, and then it just got better when he sat down. It was just like you had to lift up the plate cover, and then there it was.
It was a delicious crow hat. No crow, just a hat.
Yes.
But he still ate it. That was impressive.
Yep.
Just the humor. I appreciated the editing of that. It was very well edited.
Oh, yeah.
The timing was perfect as far as getting the blender out and chopping it up and not wasting too much time on slicing up the hat.
But of course, that was the only news from Peter Beck today, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, just that he wanted to eat baseball hats. He's going hatitarian. It's a flavor of vegetarian where you only eat hats that are branded as your company. That's hatitarianism. No, we have.
I might try it.
I would not recommend it, Mr. Merch Guy, because you are the guy who owns all of the merch. So I would not recommend. What is that?
You probably can't even see this one, really.
It's really black.
Yeah, there's no way you can see this one. It's one of the LTT ones that's like the stealth one.
Well, anyway, yeah. So don't eat hats, DJ. That's not going to be a good idea for you. Peter announced something that I didn't ever think Rocket Lab would do, and I think most of the people thought Rocket Lab would never do this. They're making a big rocket. Yay!
Crowd goes wild.
Okay.
So, yeah.
The actual announcement probably isn't quite as exciting for those non-inducted into the space world, but Rocket Lab, for those who don't know, is a private launch company similar to SpaceX in the fact that they're 100% privately owned, and they do launches for hire. Basically, you can hire them out and have your payload go to orbit. They launched mostly from New Zealand. They were started by a guy named Peter Beck. He has the most luscious curls in the entire space industry. So, good on you, Peter. And so they've been they've specialized. Their niche is small sats. Basically, they launched small sats into orbit. Believe their main Electron rocket has a usable payload of about 300 kilograms, which is not much in the space world, where you got Falcon 9s launching 20-something thousand pounds into orbit. So kilograms, not pounds.
20,000 kilograms.
Anyway, they've always specialized in these small launches, and one of their main technologies is their Rutherford engine, which is actually 3D printed titanium, which is pretty impressive. And so they're able to make them at a rate of about one a day, and so they can have a really high production yield, which, as we know, Raptor is struggling in its production, and Merlin did for a long time as well on the SpaceX side. So it's impressive that they were able to do this, and it's also not a turbopump engine. It's not. It doesn't have a gas turbopump. It uses an electric turbopump, and so it's a very unique engine in that way, where it uses a battery to get the liquid from the tank into the engine, where most other engines use combustion of the propellants in some form, whether that's full flow or open stage or whatever, where you have your turbopumps run that way. Anyway, so that's their little background of their company. They've been really specialized in their small sat launching. They've even said quite a few times they don't want to do anything bigger because they have this really great market. And here, Peter Beck decided that no, it is time.
Yep. So they're going from 300 kilograms, which is roughly around 600, a little bit more than 600 pounds, up to 8,000 kilograms with their Neutron. So wow. That's 8,000 kilograms is roughly about 17,636 pounds.
Wow.
So from 600 to 17,000, it's a big jump. Now to put it into comparison, there we go. Falcon 9 has a capacity of 50,000 pounds. So when we say it's a big rocket for Rocket Lab.
Yes.
It's not necessarily like cream of the crop wise. It's not on a Falcon 9 level, but it's still, for if they're launching small sats and they want to launch more and more and more and more sats, they can, I don't even know how to do the math on that one right now to divide 17,000 by 600 and get the right answer. It's going to be a lot. So
you can even get those satellites into different types of orbits, like maybe, Mars trajectory or something like that.
Yep. And it's going to be a big deal for Rocket Lab, especially when they start doing more, if they start sending more stuff out past Leo, if they're going to start sending some stuff to the moon or Venus, which we know he likes a lot, and to even Mars. Now it's I think either 1,000 or below kilograms if going to Mars, something like that. Same thing, kind of the same thing around Venus. I can't remember.
It makes about.
They're both on the
right.
other side, one of the other sides of 1,000, but it's a big step for Rocket Lab. Now, of course, we know they have this newer launch pad in Virginia, which they haven't launched anything out of yet.
Yeah.
And that's where this is going to be launching from. It's going to be launching from Wallops, so they don't have to completely build a whole new pad. They already have one there. They just kind of got to alter it a little bit to be able to fit
Can I
this.
just say I'm not a fan of this? I love the New Zealand launch site. I love watching their streams. Their rocket launches are obviously impressive in and of themselves, but half the reason why I tune into their streams is just to get the beautiful horizon of New Zealand on the ocean. It's just gorgeous. Normally, like during sunset or sunrise, just pink skies and blue waters and green hills, and then you get the rocket itself,
amazing.
which is beautiful. But then they're going to go to Wallops, which is probably the most boring launch complex on planet Earth. At least the Baikonur Cosmodrome has that huge flame
oh yeah,
thingy.
the big old dip.
That's cool.
It's like it's sitting on the side of a mountain.
Exactly, right. And then you got Space Coast down in Florida. They have a lot of history behind them, which kind of makes that interesting. But Wallops is just like the awkward cousin of all of the space launch complexes around the world. It's like in an industrial zone on the ocean. It doesn't really look all that pretty, and just a bunch of pipes and lights. And anyway, it's not as aesthetic. But that's all right, because this Neutron rocket is pretty amazing. The way they revealed it was they had Peter sitting inside of the fairing half of this Neutron, and that was a kind of fun perspective. We see these fairing halves on SpaceX streams where you're watching the Starlink deploy and then the fairings separate, and it's kind of hard to get perspective on how big exactly these fairings are, and they are enormous because these are. He was sitting in one. I don't know what was the diameter. 4.5 meters.
4.5 meters. So, I mean, like they fit a table in there with him, so it wasn't just him sitting in there like a little crunched up. He had room. He had a whole table in the blender.
Yeah, so there was plenty of space, and so that's impressive size right there. Although size doesn't matter, I would say payload mass does matter, and it's very important that we do have those medium launches. I would, as excited as I am for a new rocket and having another rocket to watch development on, in your honest opinion, DJ, are they a little too late?
I'm really not sure. The way I'm looking at it is, I think with Rocket Lab and SpaceX making things so cheap to put into orbit, if reusability becomes more and more and more the forefront of space launches, it's gonna take prices down. And then with all the other technology that keeps coming up and keeps getting cheaper and cheaper, it might become more feasible to put larger small sats. And I guess we might have a new term, medium sats or something like that. But it's going to go from these just small boxes is what I think is going to happen. It's going to go from the small CubeSats up to more meaty satellites that are less expensive to get into space than even the small CubeSats used to be.
Yeah.
So if they go the same route with Neutron that they have Electron, keeping it cheap, keeping it a nice sequence going, it probably will become very lucrative for them. Now, the reason I don't think it's going to be like they're going to be going into a bit of trouble with that is because, like I said, the Falcon 9 payload mass is 20,000 kilograms. So, I mean, you're going from 8 to 20,000. So there's a big gap in between. There's a lot that they can do with that 8,000, I believe, especially with it being a net 2024 launch date. So,
yeah. Do you think, though, I mean, Elon's always talking in optimistic terms. Once Starship BFR gets off the ground, literally and figuratively, I just can't see any rocket that isn't fully reusable from really succeeding. It just seems very unlikely. And I know they did mention it will be partially reusable. Neutron rocket will be partially reusable. I don't know how much of that partially they're talking about. Is this like a ULA Vulcan where they jettison the engines and try to fish those out of the ocean? Or is it like an Electron where they're going to try to pick it all up with a helicopter at some point? Like, that might be more useful. Likely not at this scale, though. This is too big for a helicopter. But anyway, yeah. I kind of wonder. Obviously excited to see what they do, and there's millions of dollars in development in this Neutron rocket as we speak. I'm sure there's no way they would have announced it without doing their math. So I'm sure there's a market out there for it, but I'm a little apprehensive. If I was a rocket guy right now, building rockets like Peter and his luscious curls, I would have to pause about putting any more money into non-reusable rockets at the moment. Now, it is a stepping stone. The Neutron is going to be the next stepping stone, and I think it is going to have its own market. At least today's market would support a rocket of that size, as far as being able to have kind of fleet-building constellations is what they were saying. You know, you can stand up a fair number of small sats all at once in one go in one orbital plane, but yet not quite so big as a Falcon 9 launch, because it is a little bit of a challenge for those Falcon 9 RideStar missions to fill up, because you got to find enough CubeSats that are all willing to go on the same orbital plane in the same direction at the same time, and that can be a little tricky too. So I definitely think there is demand in the current market, but I just wonder by the time the Neutron is done if that demand will still exist, because what you were saying, making larger small sats and that are a little bit more powerful will likely be more cost effective.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen this picture yet, but what I just sent you is the is a article that has an image from Rocket Lab, and if you look at it, it looks very much so like a Falcon 9 and a Starship kind of mixed. Because I mean, it's got that stainless steel look. Yep. I don't know if that's just a rendering making it look like that or not, but for reusability's sake, it's got landing legs that look almost exactly like the Falcon 9's landing legs.
I did see those. Elon even tweeted, those look familiar.
I didn't even see that. I've been busy today.
No
but I'm excited to see somebody else try landing a first stage booster like SpaceX has.
Do you think they'll do propulsive landing?
With landing legs already being planned, like in the image, and I mean, I know it's just an image and it's 4 years out from what they say the first flight will be. But I have to think that they're planning on doing what Big Bro SpaceX is going to do. So, I mean, it's proven that it can work. I mean, it's had hiccups along the way, and it still has hiccups every now and then. But if they can get these rockets to where they can just refurb them, like SpaceX has done for more than half of their launches at this point, it's going to be a good thing for spaceflight. So that's going to be a medium lift vehicle in between the small sat market and then the either a whole bunch of satellites, large satellites, and just that side that Falcon 9 covers. There's really not much in between Electron and Falcon 9. So, and especially being that I don't think Starship is going to be like that. That type of rocket that everybody's just going to flock to immediately, because I think it's going to be at least 2 years before first commercial payloads are going somewhat regularly, and I think some people are going to be really cautious moving to it after that. So it'll start out slow, of course, and then it'll gain more traction. But I think still by 2024 there's going to be a lot that Electron can, or not Electron, Rocket Lab can do with the Neutron that even their Electron they wish they could do, but they just can't do it with that payload capacity. So
yeah, that 300 kilogram payload capacity is quite limiting. I mean, you can't really, you can have one medium sat or a few CubeSats basically with its kick stage, to get a little bit better orbits or more margin, that even decreases further from there. But I don't know. It's kind of it's a middle child, right? It's going to be sitting between Falcon 9 and Starship and the Electron, and so it's kind of and obviously ULA has tons of offerings and other stuff, and other providers have their own offerings as well. So it is a saturated market, and I think the middle of the market is more saturated than the higher end of the market. There's really not many heavy lift vehicles out there right now. You have the Falcon Heavy and maybe VFR, and it was that Chinese have a heavy launcher as well, the Long March 5 or something like that. Anyway. Yeah,
Long March 5, Long March 7, which is being developed right now, and then Long March 9, which just got announced that they're going to be starting development.
Yeah. But all that to say, this kind of middle of the market rocket is there's definitely is a market, 100% there is a market, but I just wonder how saturated that market is already and how much more saturated it will be in 2024. So 2024 honestly is not that far away. I have to keep reminding myself we're like a quarter of the way through 2021 right now. Like this year's flying by.
2020. Yeah, it still feels like 2020.
It still feels like 2020.
When you realize a year ago is when everything just started shutting down.
Yeah. Welcome to
It's been
the
a
first
year.
anniversary of 14 Days to Slow the Spread. Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
I definitely think that we'll have there'll be tons of news around this neutron rocket coming up just in the next few months and years. I'm excited to see where they take it, and I think if there's anybody who can do it that's not Elon Musk, it's Peter Beck. So you go Peter.
Oh wait. I don't know if you actually mentioned this or not because I just remembered about it. He also said it could be human capable.
He did. I didn't mention that, but that was my first. That was the first wow moment after he ate his hat and the camera backed away. He was like human capable. I was like, ooh. The question is though, who would want to ride a medium sat rocket with the equivalent of like a 1 or 2 times Mercury capsule, where it's maybe Gemini capsule sized as far as payload capacity.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, if it's going to be 2024, people are probably going to be more open to the idea of space tourism at that point.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to just go to if it's not going to go to the ISS, they could probably do a smaller capsule, take 2-3 people at a time for a non-extended stay, maybe something like that. So, of course, for human rated, they would need a capsule for that, or some kind of other thing like the whatever that space plane looking one what is that, Sierra Nevada?
Yeah.
Maybe something of
It's called
like
the
that
space
type of
plane,
look.
isn't it?
Maybe.
What's that thing called?
I don't know. The mini space shuttle. I'll call it that.
Yeah, it's a space shuttle without the payload bay.
Basically.
And
But I
a
mean,
big orange tank.
first launch in 2024. That might be 3 to 4 years later. So we're looking at like 7 to 8 years down the road that it might be humans launching on it. Space tourism, maybe.
At that point, though, 7, 10 years down the road, I'd have to wonder how far along SpaceX is going to be with Starship, and space tourism on Rocket Lab would probably be akin to an expensive private jet flight, where space tourism on Starship would be like first class on a regular carrier, expensive tickets, but you get the what's that called? Where you have the
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's, of course, all good well wishes to Rocket Lab and Peter, and hope everything that they plan works out somewhat the way they plan, because we all know what you plan with rockets. You take what you originally thought, throw it away, and you start over later.
That is so true. We're gonna make the Starship out of carbon fiber. Woo!
Nope.
So
Stainless
glad they
steel it
didn't do
is.
that. Could you imagine how slow the development would be if they made the Starship out of carbon
Oh my gosh. I mean, you remember when we were hearing that they had the carbon fiber mill or mandrel or whatever you call that thing in the LA port.
Yep, the port of
And
LA.
that was like what, 3-4 years ago that we heard about this at this
Yeah.
point.
Wow.
And literally one thing was done there, and that was it. And then the idea was scrapped completely.
Right.
So
I see why they did, but still not fun for those engineers.
yeah.
So speaking of SpaceX, SpaceX is going to be responsible for another 4 lives coming soon. Did you see that?
Yep. I did. I watched some of that today. So
Ooh.
we have Crew 2 briefing on YouTube, or I can't remember what they called it, but basically we got some information. So we have 4 astronauts again this time, which is going to become the definite norm for SpaceX launches at this point. Shane Kimbrough from U.S., Megan MacArthur from the U.S., and then 2 astronauts that are not part of NASA. So we have Akihiko Hoshide from JAXA and Tomas, not Thomas, from ESA. So we got another JAXA astronaut and the first ESA astronaut on the Crew Dragon.
That is so cool. This is kind of just settling in, like how awesome it is. Like I know there's a lot of fanfare with Bob and Doug and stuff, and American astronauts from American soil on American rockets and blah blah blah. But it's like so cool that like we're getting to a point now where we're looking at our third crewed launch of a Dragon capsule, and there's just it feels almost routine at this point. Like we just had our last one in November, like, so it's like, okay, like
something like that, yeah.
And this one's in what, March or April?
Net April 20th.
April 20th.
So,
yeah.
And another thing is, we're moving along really fast in the Crew Dragon like usability and feasibility, because they're already going to reuse a capsule. So the same capsule that Bob and Doug went up on, they refurbed it. They've made a few upgrades to it for quality of life for the astronauts and functionality wise and reliability wise. And they're going to be using that capsule. So, I mean, first reuse of a capsule already. It's going to be awesome. Interesting.
Is the booster also going to be reused?
I think it is. I could never end up actually finding where that was to see if it was going to be reused or not. But yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh well.
But
it might be, it might not be. If it is, then yay. If it's not, then we kind of expected that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think though we're gonna start running into a problem if we keep this launch cadence up so much, and we have like so many people visiting the ISS. Because right now there are 7 crew members on the ISS. We have the 2 Roscosmos astronauts, the last American astronaut on a Soyuz seat, and then the 4 American astronauts. Is it 8? Wait, did I miscount?
Nope. Three American astronauts on Crew 1. And then we have Suichi Noguchi.
And then JAXA. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so like there are 7 people on station right now, permanent, like as a crew, not just visiting. And once Crew 2 gets up there, there's going to be another 4 people. And obviously they're going to do some kind of handover, like, couple week maybe. And that's going to be 10 people, or 12 people on station.
No, I think, no, I don't think all 12 are going to be on station at once. I believe that, I think Soyuz is going back.
With both of the Roscosmos?
Yeah, because didn't Soyuz go up before, this Soyuz go up before Crew 2?
Yeah, it did, but...
no, before Crew 1?
No, it went up before Crew 1, but I don't think the Russians would leave the station. There's always been a U.S. and a Russian astronaut on station since.
You're right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know how
they
they're planning that. Maybe there's another
12 people. That's going to be real interesting.
I don't think they would. No, I think they'd. Yeah, I don't know.
They're going to play fruit basket turnover with something, and they're going to figure it out.
They will. I'm sure some very smart engineer has sat down and figured this out in a way that we haven't yet. So shout out to that guy.
Yep.
Who's probably yelling at us in the comments.
But one thing that I do know for sure is going to be happening with that fruit basket turnover is the Crew 1 capsule is going to be jumping ship and then reattaching to ship real fast. So they're going to be moving from... It's jumping ship. So all 4 of the Crew 1 astronauts are going to have to suit up, get in to Dragon, and basically what they're going to do is move it like 10, 15 foot. Or whatever it is going to be to go to that other docking port. The Zenith port is what they called it on the stream. So if the picture that I found is the correct one, then it's basically like you got the big old module right here going this way. You got one docking port right here, and the other one's literally right there.
Yep.
So it's boom, 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 boom.
There you go.
Of course, that's going to take 4 hours with NASA. You know that.
4 hours? Oh, come on, DJ. With all of the safety checks and stuff, this is easily a 3-day affair. Gotta make sure everyone is all safe. Yeah, that's kind of funny. You bring up a good question though about other visiting spacecraft. I think at some point we're gonna run out of docking ports. I mean, we have the Axiom 1 mission. We have the Well, we even have the Inspiration 4 mission, but that's not stopping at the ISS. But like all these other missions that are going to be happening, and at some point we're going to run out of space on station very quickly.
Yep.
And so
right now there's 5 vehicles on station because we got Crew 1, Cygnus 15, Soyuz MS-17, Progress 75, and 77.
wow.
So we've got a lot up there already. And I did not realize there was actually that many docking ports there.
I don't think they've been used in decades. I think all of them in capacity.
Probably not.
Have probably not been used since the very end of the building and construction phase, where they had, a couple orbiters a year up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. It would be kind of funny if we get to a point where space travel up to the ISS is so mundane that you got to circle around the parking lot waiting for a spot to open, like you do at the mall.
It's like before they even get undocked, the other rocket's already launched, and you're just sitting there waiting for them to pull out.
You got to make sure your blinker's on, or else the guy who's coming from the other direction might steal it, and then you have to wait a little bit longer. That's no fun. No honking though.
But hey, I think once we get to that point, we're gonna actually have a secondary space station or something like that at that point.
I would hope we'd have the Axiom.
Yeah, because we've got, I don't know how many. Do you remember how many years that they plan for the ISS to be active?
I think it was like 2024 was like its original planned shelf life, right?
Original.
Sounds about right, but I think it's been extended. It's been extended quite a bit.
I think it's within this decade that its end of life is happening. Tell you what though, I will definitely make sure I find whatever place is gonna have the best view of that when it burns up, and I will go there.
I will be the one guy in a sailboat on Point Nemo. I will be that one guy. I know you're aiming for me, NASA. Hopefully you missed, but if you don't, that's fine. Hit me.
Oh man. That's gonna be a very sad but very awesome day to see that.
It will be a very very sad day. Just like when Mir went down back in the late, or I guess early. Is it the early 2000s or the late 90s? Anyway, it's kind of in that time period.
I'm not sure.
It was kind of interesting because like a ton of astronauts had visited it, and like after it went down, no one was ever going to visit Mir again. And those astronauts who got to experience Mir, the Russian space station, were the only ones who ever got to experience it. And there'll never be more than those people. There'll only be less as they die off. So kind of sobering to think that one day that'll be the ISS, which I've grown up with almost all my life. I'm a little bit older than the ISS, but all of my cognitive years have had an ISS, and it's been crewed the entire time. So it's onward to better things. And I know the ISS is getting up there in age, and the last few years of the Mir space station were not pretty. There was electrical failures. They had like mold problems. They had, hopefully we don't have that on the ISS, just the hygienics of it. But the Mir station.
I really wonder how you get mold problems up there in space.
Oh, it's prolific. You got a bunch of people sweating in a metal tube, breathing their air again, and drinking their pee, and recycled everything. Yeah,
that just makes space flight sound so fun right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the odor on the ISS is supposed to be very interesting. So,
very stale.
Yeah, stale and pungent. So, Mir was supposedly really bad though. So hopefully the ISS isn't that bad.
Yikes. But talking about the life expectancy of the ISS, we do have a few things that are about to happen to help it withstand the rest of its life. So, Sunday morning between like midnight and 5 o'clock or something along the lines of that, somewhere, we had a spacewalk go down. So we had Victor Glover and what was the other? Kate?
I think it was that the other mission specialist, that lady.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can't pull up that article.
I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. But they took a spacewalk to one of the outer trusses of the space station, and started work on some preparations for new solar panels. So they are going to be retrofitting, I believe it's 4 panels total. Basically, it's going to be like laying a blanket on top of the existing solar panels. So they're not removing panels, they're adding panels on top. And it is called the Rollout Solar Array. So ROSA. It's
I love
done
NASA
by
namings.
Deployable Space Systems. Yeah, it's a great name. I was like, they kept saying ROSA in the stream early morning, and I was like, okay, that's a cool name. It's finally something that sounds cool. And they said the actual meaning of it, and I was like, somebody got paid a lot of money to just put those 4 letters together and call it ROSA.
ROSA.
But yeah,
Gotta love them. It was
what
Shannon
they did
Walker,
is they worked.
by the way.
Shannon
We
Walker.
didn't.
There we go.
We
Okay.
looked it up. Sorry, Shannon.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so they went to work on one of the mounting points that's on the inner side, but the side that's actually mounted to the space station. And that they started putting mounting brackets on it to prepare for these rollout solar panels. There we go.
That's exciting.
Yep. And I actually didn't realize this, but a few years back, I think it was 2017, they said, they actually had one of these on station attached to one of the arms when they were doing original testing on it. And then they just dropped it and let it deorbit. So
Fascinating.
one of the prototypes has been up there, and now it's about to be sending up, or now NASA's about to be sending up 4 panels to retrofit.
And there are 8
Get more
panels
power.
on 8. There are 8 panels on each side, right? So there are a total of 16 panels that they'll eventually replace.
No, they're not going to be replacing any of the panels.
Rolling over them.
Yeah,
Refurbishing.
I think they're only going to do 4 because what this is going to do is roll down that beam in between the pairs of panels.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to roll down the beam, and it's going to cover up
The gaps.
It'll leave like a half a length of one exposed, I believe it is.
Interesting. Okay.
So
I need to do some more research.
Or
That sounds
half
like
a
a
width.
cool project.
yeah, I didn't know about it until I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I just saw NASA streaming a spacewalk, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. What's going on? Didn't hear anything about this.
Nothing like falling asleep to a spacewalk.
Oh, yeah, it happens very fast because it is very boring until they actually get out there. And then it's even more boring because they're just like inching along.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay, check. Glove check. Every 20 minutes, glove check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, just imagine being out there for 6.5 hours.
That would be the best
man.
6.5 hours of my life. I'll put it that way. It'd be the hardest, but it would be the best.
But it'd be best.
Yeah.
Uh,
Being able to see
Man.
the Earth unobstructed, look around, you know. Most astronauts get around 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what their spacewalks plans are like, to enjoy the view. So, I mean, those
yeah.
the minutes where you're actually able to stop your work and take a step back and enjoy where you are is supposedly one of the most surreal experiences that a human can have. And I totally believe that. And it's sad that you can't just go on a spacewalk just to look at the view, because that would totally be me. It'd be like, give me some fresh air, or fresh no air.
Fresh, no air.
Get me outside.
Well,
Well, at least
I think somebody else said is. Oh, well, never mind. Go.
No. Well, at least it wasn't a failure to launch, because I really hate it when we have failures to launch. Dang, Starlink 17. You're killing me.
Man, I was about to say, but you know who else wants to get into space, but just can't?
Much better transition. Starlink 20.
That's going to be the one to go up first, I bet you.
I bet you're right. So as of recording this, Starlink 17 has been off and on schedule to launch for what, 2 weeks now? 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Oh,
month? 2 months?
shoot, 3 to almost a month, I believe it is.
Jeez.
It was. Oh man, it's been a time for Starlink 17.
We should like count up how many times this thing's been pressurized for flight and have to be depressed.
Dude, it's probably been a lot. I want to see if they have the original flight date, what it was supposed to be on pre-launch, because it's been going back and forth. It's probably gotten delayed like 8 times now.
I think
more.
so. Yeah, at least 8, and like 3 of them were during the countdown, not just weather delays. It's like we're all sitting there. Ridiculous. You can do it. You can do it. Abort.
Yeah, I can't find it that fast,
No.
but
No,
Sunday, I believe it was it was Sunday that we were gonna have this launch, and it got to T-minus 142, I believe it was.
No, that's
and
such a random thing. What checks do you think it's doing at 1 minute and 40 seconds? Like, we already had prop load
really
complete,
don't know.
and it's before the computer takes over. So, like, it had to have been, like, their very last manual sweep for issues that caused that abort.
Something like that. I mean, it could have been some kind of ground issue, because it was done at, was it supposed to be at LC40?
I think it's still
No,
at
it's
LC40.
at 39A.
39A? Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I think it's 39A. I don't know. It could have been some kind of ground issue. It could not have been. But either way, it got scrubbed real fast. Real fast. Like, they didn't even decide to attempt to repressurize or do whatever. So it must have been something that they absolutely couldn't go ahead with.
Yeah.
But then it got moved to tonight, which is Monday. And then about 11 o'clock this morning or something like that, it got delayed again because of weather this time in the landing zone. So, fingers crossed that by the time this is uploaded, it is either about to go up or already up.
Normally I am not one in favor of making my shows outdated before they're posted, but for this specific case with Starlink 17, I'd be very happy if you beat the upload. So, go Starlink 17.
Oh, man.
We need more internet. At what point, though...
that would also help us get this out faster.
That's true. At what point, though, do you think SpaceX is going to be like, this rocket's been sitting out here for like a month and a half outside in Florida. We need to now double check everything again because, like, Florida is a humid environment and these are pieces of metal.
Whatever it is, I mean, they're going to have to do something at some point about it. It's been outside completely the entire time, hasn't it?
I think they've taken it back a couple times. They can take it back fairly easily, and it takes a couple days. But I don't know. I just wonder if maybe was this 49? Yeah, B1049-8. I wonder if this booster is at its end of life, but they're not going to launch it to try to figure out, if it's going to do one more landing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what's this? The 6th time it's flown? This is... Hold on.
Let's see. -8. What? Is this going to be an 8th flight? Another 8th flight booster? Yeah, it is. It's going to be another 8th flight booster. This is the
first launch of B... Oh, from that launch pad. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Sorry. Yeah, sixth Starlink launch on a B1049. So this is an up there fleet leader. I wouldn't be too sad if they decided never to fly 1049 again and put them in a museum or something. But they have it all there.
No. What you saw was this is the 6th Starlink launch for this booster. This will be the 8th launch for this booster.
Oh, wow. Okay. Second 8th reflight of a booster. I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess it has technically had a nice long life, and, maybe this is the first instance of SpaceX deciding not to risk it and see if it goes, because at this point, like, they have their Falcon 9 systems pretty well down. You know, it's the Starlink satellites that they've been having a little bit of a production bandwidth on. So maybe at this point they'd rather lose the booster for sure and, you know, donate it to a museum or whatever and be able to put those satellites back on another better booster that has a better chance of making it to orbit. But
Yep.
I don't know. If this drags on another 2 weeks, I'm going to say this thing's never flying.
Just get it up there. It's taken so long for this rocket to just fly.
Just stick a Cybertruck on it already. Let's just see if it'll go. Experiment time. Completely useless payload. Well, that's likely the most delayed Starlink mission, so congratulations, SpaceX.
Yep.
/ Gremlins.
It's probably likely the most delayed SpaceX mission in general that was not like safety delay.
Yeah.
As in like the ones that blew up and then they had a long delay afterwards.
Yeah.
So this is probably the most delayed SpaceX mission today.
It's almost feeling like an SLS mission, SpaceX. You better stop this, okay? We can't have this.
Ouch.
I know. It's not a Talos of Space episode till we talk about SLS. So we did that.
We made it so far in this one. So far. 45 minutes or something like that.
Most people were actually just sitting there watching the screen like, when is he going to bash SLS?
It's like, hey, the only marker in the timeline, SLS, bash on SLS. There we go.
Yep, I might do that if I remember. Probably won't, but that would be funny if I did. Oh, my.
Oh, man.
So, Starlink 17 may or may not launch tomorrow. Likely not.
Probably not.
Starlink 20 will likely launch in 5 days. So, there's a very solid chance. Like, I would say better than 60% chance that we'll see Starlink 20 fly before we see Starlink 19 or 17 fly. Which just brings into question SpaceX's whole naming convention on how they name their Starlink missions, because it's going to be a weird one for the history books, having Starlink 17 follow Starlink 20 and 19 and 18, and just out of order, which is going to be all right as long as it all makes it up there. But, you know, oh well.
It'll get up there eventually.
That's sure will. It sure will get there eventually. So we got Starlink 20 maybe coming up in 5 days, but probably most importantly, we got the possibility of SN10 getting its test flight in just a few days. I know we said that last week, but we really do think we mean it this week, because there's a decent enough chance that they can do it. They've already done their static fire. They've replaced the Raptor engine that was defective that they figured out during the static fire, which is why they do these static fires. And they've also done...
From replace to static fire, it was 48 hours. So
that very, very impressive, SpaceX. All of those checkouts.
There we go.
Still.
Oh, I just realized you can't even see me now since I plugged my iPad in.
Okay. No, you're good. I just wanted to make sure that you were okay. Because I was really filling space just to make sure that, you know, in case you were dinking with something, we didn't have an awkward pause. Because
my iPad apparently decided it wanted to start dying on me.
No, you're good. You're good.
The rest of that.
So SN10 is, I believe, our last topic here this evening. Any thoughts on that one?
I just want to see it fly again. I mean, I know they're going through all the stuff that they need to go through, but let's just get a flight going. I want to see if Elon's suggestions from Twitter amount to something. Let's light 3 engines on the fall, or on the last flip. Let's make it land. Preferably not with a big boom this time.
Hey, I'll take a big boom though. It's still exciting. Anyway, it's always exciting no matter how they land.
So
cool.
Any I got something that might be a little controversial.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
So, have you watched any of For All Mankind Season 2 yet?
I have not. I've been boycotting this. Should I?
So, okay, probably not. You probably shouldn't watch it.
Cool. I don't need to bend another Apple device. I already jerry-rigged everything my last iPad during the first season. It's like the Lime didn't have a GUI screen.
But taking into account that it's completely alternate timeline from like more or earlier than halfway through the first season. It's been so non-scientific the entire time. First 2 episodes. If you want a drama that is about space, watch it. If you don't want to be annoyed with all the non-scientific accuracies, don't watch it. If you just want to watch something that's space, watch it. It is not as bad as you would think. And the only way you can decide if you like it yourself or not is, of course, if you watch it yourself. So I say just give at least the first 2 episodes a try. That's what I've watched so far. I've decided I'm going to watch it all the way through just to see it. I mean, a space drama. I don't think there's really been one of those in a while. I would think Star Trek would probably be the last one of those that really counts. So, yeah.
Well, that's good feedback. Apple TV has been notifying me about every 8 seconds. Hey, Nick! There's a new episode of For All Mankind! Hey, Nick! There's a new episode of WandaVision! I'm just like, shut up, Apple TV. I'm going to mute your notifications if you're not careful.
I will say I definitely have not been jumping on the episodes like I do on my other shows.
Yeah.
But, I did watch. It's the last show in my line of shows that I'll watch during the week.
Yep.
If I'm finished with everything else, that's what I'm watching. So,
well, that's good feedback. I appreciate it. Maybe I'll try to carve out a few hours to. How long are the episodes? They're like 30 minutes, right?
No, they're like 45 or something like that.
Oof. Okay. Well, I will have to carve out.
I mean, it's like a regular. It's like a regular TV show. So. The length is similar.
Well, good to know, and I guess I'll have to give it a little bit of a look and try not to bend any of the devices that I'm watching it on, because, as we all know, Nick is gentle with technology.
Watch it on your computer and sit far away, because the inaccuracies will make you do it.
Oh no!
Don't worry about it
though. I'll get a handcuff and chain myself to the wall and have the computer on the other side. Like, a raging monkey at the. Oh my!
Like I said, it's basically a space drama at this point. So,
I guess Hollywood's gonna do what they're gonna do. Apple's gonna do what they're gonna do. So, I'm just gonna sit here and be sculpt manly and get angry about it.
Oh man! Hey, if you want to watch real space stuff, watch SpaceX.
This is true. It's almost like, or you can watch Peter Beck eat his favorite meal.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, hats are yummy.
See how
apparently.
I came full circle on that one. Smart.
Well, that about it?
I think so. Do you want to close this out, DJ?
Sure. This has been the Tales of Space podcast. I am DJ. That is Nick. See you in the next one.
See ya. Bye.